today's episode of Success Matters. Today, I'm joined by Letty Pickering, who calls herself an accidental environmentalist. Concerns about the environment have never been more prominent than they are today. However, when we think of an environmentalist, we might think of protestors, people who cause disruption, people who live unconventional lives, people who basically aren't like us. So having left the corporate world to follow her passion, Letty is on a mission to change that view and show how we can all become environmentalists by making small changes that have a big impact. Join us as we discuss Letty's personal journey of realisation and choices to make a cleaner world. Thank you very much for joining Success Matters podcast. You call yourself an accidental environmentalist. So what does that mean, and how did you come about giving yourself that title?
Yeah, it's quite the name, right? And not
It is.
The spell either, by the way. Firstly, thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me. I absolutely love what you're doing. So it's wonderful to be here and be having this chat with you. Really.
Thank you.
But why an accidental environmentalist? Well, it was a little bit of a shock when I decided to start to make changes in my life to live more sustainably.
Mm-hmm.
It was never in the plan. And like most people throughout my life, I had never really considered consciously anyway, living a sustainable life or the environment in my day-to-day decision-making.
Right.
It was very accidental when it happened. And I thought it sounded pretty cool too. It was a little bit catchy.
It sure is. It definitely is catchy. Accidental environmentalist. When you say you didn't really kind of see yourself living your life in that particular way, was it because life was busy and hectic and you were pursuing things like career and whatever, and so therefore it wasn't really there in front of mind? Was that kind of the reason or the thinking behind it?
Yeah. That was absolutely part of it. So I have had a wonderful, wonderful career, travelled across the world, across the UK, worked with some amazing people. And I guess I was always busy doing the next thing and the next thing. And of course, outside of work as well, kind of having a relationship, building a family, buying a house, all of those things that you do, right?
Yeah.
But living a sustainable life was just never part of my day-to-day decision-making. And in fact, I would have cost myself and my identity, who I am, I would never have said I am somebody who lives a sustainable life. Right. That wouldn't have been part of who I thought I was.
How did you identify yourself before? What was part of your identity makeup? And how did you make that switch? Because I think when we were preparing for this, you mentioned something quite profound, really, which I hadn't thought about, was if someone says they're an environmentalist, or you picture an environmentalist, that your mind will go to a certain type of individual or to a certain type of person. So how did you make that switch in your mind?
It's the crux of the question,
Okay.
of the issue right there, because you think of the word environmentalist, right, and you think of somebody who perhaps lives off the grid, you think of somebody who is a very strict vegan diet, who perhaps makes their own clothes, and all of these images pop into your head about what it means to actually be an environmentalist. And in today's world, unless that is part of your identity and you know from birth that's what you wanted to do, those aren't things that mainstream population would usually aspire to be, right? You aspire for the career, you might have financial aspirations or to travel or different things like that. But this idea, this image that we have of what it means to be an environmentalist or to live a sustainable life was very different from what I wanted, what I visioned my world to be. Mm-hmm. And also living a sustainable life, right? So you hear that word, living a sustainable life, and you automatically think, wow, I've got to give something up here.
Yeah.
I've got to stop doing something that I'm doing today. It kind of breeds images of lack or scarcity, those types of things. Mm-hmm. And we want life filled with abundance, right? We want to live our best lives every day, having a wealth of opportunity there. So I always told myself, I'm not that type of person, not the person. And in terms of reframing it for myself, in my early 40s, I was very much led to do something more heart-led, continuing throughout my career. And I'd started to take small steps in that direction, not specifically with sustainability, but being more conscious, I would say, in my day-to-day decision-making, first of all. And then I had a quite significant life event. And for the first time in my life, probably, I stopped.
Right.
Stopped the hustle. I paused and actually had an opportunity for reflection. And whilst small changes had been coming into my life, I actually thought, you know what? I want to live a life that's more in harmony with the world around me, right?
Right.
I want to live a life that's in balance. I choose to play a part in the battle against climate change. I want to show my kids, my family, a different way. And that was the fundamental decision point for me. That was when I thought, right, okay, then I am going to make this change. I am the type of person who lives a sustainable life. And for me, I class it as living a life that's in balance with the world around you. Okay. It's not about lack. It's not about scarcity. It's about looking at things differently and having different types of abundance in your life. And that was really where my own journey began.
Okay. So when you say different types of abundance, what sort of abundance did you have before that you've now kind of reframed? And what sort of abundance are you, I suppose, not pursuing, but what sort of abundance do you have now in your life? So what was that shift like?
It's the best shift that I've ever made. There's a certain type of magic. There's a certain type of feel-good satisfaction that you really get within when you stop sleepwalking and just continuing with the habits that you've made every single day of your life because you've always done it. Actually be present in those day-to-day decisions that you're making. Right. And so for me, my very first step on my sustainable journey, it sounds quite bizarre, but it was actually to get a milkman.
Okay.
I think where's the feel good with getting but it actually took me back to being a little girl. And it was very nostalgic. It took me back to a really lovely time in my life. And of course, today, everything is completely different. You know, you've got an app, you can track the amount of plastic bottles that you're actually not using. It all works very well. And there's loads of other different products that you can get on there, right? But that was my first step. And I made that step because I knew I wanted to make a difference. I knew I wanted this abundance within me, this abundance to feel good within, and begin to start taking just really small steps in consciously deciding what I was going to bring into my life.
Okay. So getting milk delivered was your first step in your journey, and the outcome of that is that you're no longer buying milk in plastic bottles from the supermarket and therefore reducing plastic waste. Is that how it's kind of panned out?
Yeah, I mean, from a sustainability perspective and your impact on the world around you, you know, you might think, well, one plastic bottle, Letty, are you kidding me? What impact does that really have? And it has a huge impact. It has a massive impact because that's one bottle. That might be 4 bottles a week. That might be 200 bottles a year, and over a lifetime, that accumulates hugely. What I'm also doing is, what I love is seeing the impact of those around me as well.
Right.
Well, there's such a feel good in seeing my loved ones, first of all, observe quietly and have a, what is she doing now? What change is next? And automatically again they go to the negative bias.
Yeah.
Oh, any kind of change, it can't be safe. It's going to cost us more. It's going to be much more of a hassle to do this. So they kind of stand back and observe. But gradually over the months and years, now we're in a very, very different place. And it delights me when the little one might ask for a birthday gift or a Christmas gift, and it'll be something completely different. Something she's considered, I really want this particular item, but actually I'm thinking about what's inside it. What's it made of? The natural ingredients that in this particular beauty product. And, what's on the outside? What's the packaging like? And more naturally every day, she's doing things differently than she would have done a few years ago.
Right.
I love that. So there's that sense of satisfaction and that feel-good abundance there as well.
You touched on something there as well, which, if we take cars as an example, you said, is it going to cost me more? And quite often people think that being more sustainable is going to cost you more, and that EVs are often kind of put up there as the poster boy of it's going to cost you more. Look how much an EV costs compared to a internal combustion engine car. So what would you say to someone who says, yeah, I'd love to do this, I'd love to go more green, be more sustainable, but getting my milk delivered, it costs me more to do that than going down the supermarket, or having a particular sort of giving up a brand for an eco-friendly brand is going to cost me more. What would you say to them about that?
Yeah, it's the fear that drives that. It's the fear of change. It's your subconscious mind, right, saying, actually, I'm going to keep you safe here. We're going to do what we've always done because it's gotten us as far as it has, hasn't it? And we're okay, right?
Yeah.
And that's just the same with any kind of change. Your subconscious will throw into you anything to stop you from doing it. And again, we have this bias that to live an environmental life or to live a more sustainable life, it's going to cost us more. And some things will cost you. They will. So if you want to get solar panels on your roof, you are going to need to make an investment there to put solar panels on your roof. And if you want to buy an electric car, you will need to make an investment. But what I would get you to do is to sit down and say, right, okay, then let's just really look at it. I think it's going to cost me more in comparison to the vehicle that I was going to get. But let me just do a comparison exercise and see. Taking into consideration, the initial cost of the vehicle, taking into consideration the cost to fuel the vehicle, taking into cost, maintenance, any subsidies and things like that you may get around it, and just work it all through. And at the end of that, then you know the truth. Is it going to cost me more, or isn't it going to cost me more? And at that point, you get to make the decision. Do you know what? Yeah, it's going to cost me a little bit more, or actually, no, it's more. It's cheaper than I thought it was going to be, and I'm making this conscious decision about what I'm going to do. But looked at it, you've understood it. You're choosing your impact. In effect, consciously making that decision.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So you started with milk.
Yeah.
What other changes have you made in the years since you kind of started on this journey?
Oh my days! Now you're asking me. So many changes, and it's amazing kind of what a domino effect it has, because once my eyes were open to the reality, I wanted to make more and more changes. And it was quite difficult in the early days. I'm not going to lie to you, because I didn't have a clue where to start. I knew I wanted to start with the milk, but then what do you do? How do you change every aspect of your life to be in balance with the world around you? There's hundreds of things that you can do. So where do you start? And unlike other change that you want to make in your life, there's nobody out there that says, right, okay, come and speak to me. I'll help you live a more sustainable life.
Hmm.
You've got hundreds and hundreds of pages of information on the internet. So I spent weeks and months, and still to this day, I'm still doing research as the innovations in the sustainable consumer goods continue. You know, there's some amazing things that continue to happen. So first of all, it was research that I did, and working out a way to categorize for me how I could manage the change. One thing that I say to the people that I work with now every day is it's taken you a lifetime to build up the habits that you've got.
Hmm.
It's going to take you more than a couple of weeks to unpick those, to understand those and make different decisions, and then embed those into your life and start to create this new identity of the person who is living more of a sustainable life.
Hmm.
Also on that journey, there's lots of things such as guilt. You know, you open your eyes to the changes that you're wishing to make, and you may feel guilt or judgment that you can't do things that you want.
Yeah.
You can't move as fast as you want. So there's lots of things to work through in your inner world to really strengthen your resilience around I can make these changes now. I'll do that, and then I'll move on to the next thing. And I compare it to kind of somebody starting a training plan.
Yeah.
You can't go from sitting on the couch every day to running 10K overnight. You're going to have small incremental steps that you make every day to get to where you want to go to.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of research, lots of joining different communities to see what other people were doing, how they were doing it. And I just started something new every week. And that was a mixture of products. So products that I have today, are there more environmental alternatives that I could use? And if they were, researching those and implementing those into my day-to-day. Things such as your recycling, that's a great place to start. That costs
Right.
you nothing. That's one of those areas that it costs you absolutely nothing. And a lot of the time what we think goes into each bin versus the reality that goes into each bin is very different, very, very different.
Hmm.
So really getting a grip on what leaves your house, and getting really responsible, like radically responsible for what you're throwing away, because
Yeah.
there's no place that's away. You know, it's still somewhere. But in our world today, we don't see the product being made. We don't see the materials being sourced and
Hmm.
conditions with which somebody's making that product. We don't see it being shipped across the world. We just see this lovely shiny package in the supermarket, right? And go, yeah, that looks great. I'll have that.
Yeah.
And same way when we've used it and we get rid of it, we pop it in our bin and somebody else does the rest and we forget about it.
Hmm.
About being radically responsible for that end-to-end journey is the end goal. That's really where I'm still aspiring to be, to go to.
Right. Okay. And do you like have like a weekly focus? So, okay, next week I'm going to focus on I don't know, my washing powder that I use in the laundry, and so I'm going to research and I'm going to make that change next week, and then the week after it'll be something else. Is that kind of how you operate?
Yeah, definitely at the start it was.
Okay.
Now a lot of those things are just how we do things. I don't think about them anymore. So, I mean, cleaning's a great example, because a lot of the time we're not so precious, right,
Yeah.
about cleaning products. When we spoke before, I know you mentioned the bathroom and how many different products we have in the bathroom, right? And where do you start? Well, you absolutely don't start with a product that makes you feel amazing. You don't start there. You start with something that you're willing to try something new with, right?
Hmm.
Not your anti-wrinkle cream. I'm giving away my secrets now that you've been for years and makes you feel great. start with the hand soap that you're using. Cut out your plastic there. Get a soap bar that's made from natural, organic products from somewhere lush. You know, invest in that, embed that, and go, actually, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Now let me move on to the next one. Or actually, it's better than the one that I had before. Now I'm moving to the next one. So I always say, do what works for you. But get into that routine of one thing at a time. When it feels like it's part of your day to day and you don't need to think about it again, then move on to the next and the next and the next.
Right. Okay. And I don't know if you've read Atomic Habits by Adam Grant, but that's very much the kind of strategy he says is, start small, start slowly and build that habit, get into that habit, and then build another habit on top of that, layer habits on top of your habit, so that when you look back, you've come a long way along that journey.
Absolutely. I mean, I truly believe it's the only way, because let's not forget those habits, those beliefs, those values that you hold and who you are in your identity. All of that's stored in your subconscious again, right? So those things you don't even know you're thinking. So you need to build effectively a new identity through creating these new habits and layering them and layering them and layering them. I mean, it could be something so simple as, just reconnecting with nature. Something that costs you nothing. We are human beings. We are part of the natural world, but somewhere over time that's reduced. We're so into our tech. I read something somewhere that kids today don't get as much outdoor time as the recommended daily allowance for prisoners in an American penitentiary.
Right.
It's crazy. So reconnect with that natural world and, remember, who you are and what you are.
Mm-hmm. What about kind of just going back to something you said about fear as well? Sometimes that fear comes from peer pressure as well, right? So you might want to go greener by, I don't know, eating less meat, take that as an example, but your whole family is meat eaters and you've all been brought up as meat eaters, but you're that one person who wants to kind of not eat so much meat. And then there's a problem, right? There's a factor around that. There's the peer pressure around that. So what would your advice be to someone who wants to make a change, but are scared of what the reaction will be within their circles?
It's a brilliant question. Really, really brilliant question. And my family are all huge meat eaters. My other half, because I am moving towards a more plant-based diet, it's a Zoic red mind.
Okay.
He actually said to me, one of the things that I was attracted to was the fact that you ate a lot of meat, which seems ridiculous, but it's true, and with all the changes that you're making, you will need to consider the people around you. When it comes specifically to a vegan diet or introducing changes, again, my advice would be to start small and build on that. And there are a lot of organizations out there that look at this specifically and have lots of lovely guides and supporting tools that can help you, with meal planning, recipes and things like that. What I have done is on the meals, so we have an evening meal together,
right?
And that still has meat in it. I'm still not quite pushed the button to have zero meat. But for lunch, I now have a plant-based lunch. And for breakfast, I have a plant-based breakfast. So those are meals that I can prepare for myself.
Right.
And I could prepare a different meal for somebody else if they're at home. And I think with any kind of change like this, what I've found worked really well is to, where possible, include my family in what I'm doing. So really communicate with them around this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it, and this is why it's important to me. Now, when we did the recycling, I made signs to help, mostly, again, my other half, in the right bin. And if they weren't in the right bin, not losing it.
Right, yeah.
Deal out of it. And
What the hell are you doing putting that in there?
it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
None of that.
None of that, yeah.
It's not going to do. It's just going to drive up more animosity and bad feeling around the change, right?
Mhm.
So, and I found that gently does it, including them in the why, and then also kind of encouragement through changes that they might not have considered. So when I bought my water bottle a couple of years ago, I bought a water bottle for everybody in the family.
Okay.
As well. So we were all in it together. So there's lots and lots of things that you can do, but absolutely your loved ones must be taken on that journey with you.
Right. Yeah. And on Instagram, you post a lot of products swaps or product replacements. So what would you say is the most the product swap that you've made that has had the biggest impact, both in terms of your self-satisfaction and the sustainability?
Wow. There's so many of them. I can't believe you're going to try to make me choose. Wow. So I do love my water bottle.
Okay.
I do love my water bottle, and as a country, we're quite good at taking water bottles. Our kids to school and all that good stuff. But despite that, we've still got almost 8 billion plastic water bottles used every day.
Yeah.
So I have an ocean bottle. It was an investment. So there was an initial cost that was outlaid there. But I've saved that money, time and time again through just using the bottle. I chose that because it was made out of recycled plastic materials.
Yeah.
I chose that because for every bottle purchased, they took 1,000 plastic bottles out of the ocean. It keeps your water cool in the summer. It's much better than any plastic bottle. And for the winter, I can make a cup of tea
And keep it in that.
it's like fast. So I absolutely adore it. And the other one I'm just going to squeeze in there as well is my omegas. So my vitamins. Most omega comes from fish.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult to source that sustainably. And I've got these wonderful plant-based regenerative. Can't say it. Regenerative. I'm not going to be able to say it.
Yeah.
Farming practices, basically, where the farmers make sure that the land, that the soil is fertile, that the ecosystem is wonderful, and sustainable for future generations as well. And the best omegas that I've ever had. It makes me feel wonderfully fit and healthy. And I never got that before from my old omegas. So I think that's the wonderful part of this journey is there's so much unexpected abundance and joy and I like to call it magic that you experience that you didn't expect. I didn't think changing my omegas to a plant-based option would make me feel better, make my nails stronger, make my hair stronger, but it did. And there's lots of examples like that I could give you, but I won't.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, if anyone wants to see, of course, you post on your Instagram quite often, right? The swaps that you're making and showing how things, how a particular, I don't know, again, thinking of soaps because that's in my mind, how a particular soap would work as a swap compared to the normal sort of brands. So as you know, Letty, the podcast series is called Success Matters. If you had a magic wand and you could wave your magic dust all over the world, what would success look like for you?
Wow. And again, am I only allowed to choose one magic?
No, you can choose more than one.
I would absolutely love to see every single home in the world, every single school, every single hospital powered by renewables.
Mm-hmm.
That would be wonderful, absolutely wonderful. We saw Portugal a few weeks ago power the whole of the country for, I think it was 151 hours. Imagine if every home was powered by renewables, the reduction that we'd see in fossil fuel consumption.
Yeah.
How much cleaner the air would be. Yeah, and the technology's there. The technology is there. We just need a little bit of investment as well as that magic wand. So.
Yeah. Okay, and you said you maybe had more than one. Was there another one?
Oh wow! What else? What else would? I mean, if I had a really big magic wand, we'd just take all the pollution out of the ocean. Right?
Yeah.
Where do we go? I mean, there's 101 things that I would do, but I would love for people to try and be open to what it actually means to live a sustainable life. I would love for your audience just to take 5 minutes after watching this episode and go, right, then actually, what do I think when I hear the word environmentalist? Have I got a negative bias there?
Right.
What images does living a sustainable life actually bring to mind for me? And then ask yourself, is that true? Is that true? Does it have to be like that? Or can I actually create my own version of that? If I was to create my own version, what would that look like?
Right.
Just 5 minutes to think about that. And maybe, if you like, close your eyes and just vision in your head, bring up the images of if you decided today to make one change, in 12 months' time, what your life could look like, being more in balance with the world around you. Really see those images in your mind and feel it, how it could possibly feel.
Yeah, visualization is really important to think about that change and what your world is going to look like after you've made that change. So thank you for that. A tradition I have on my podcast, which I've borrowed from the Diary of a CEO, is I ask my guest a question from a previous guest. And so the question that was asked by my previous guest is
if you had nothing, what would you do?
Oh, wow. What a question. Please thank the previous person.
It's a tough question.
Wow. What would I do? I would pause, first of all.
Okay.
Pause. And I guess if I'm in a car, I would probably tour the country. I would probably get myself outside. I would, Land's End to John O'Groats, if the car had that range, of course.
Yeah.
And take some time to really take stock and go, right, what do I want to do? Who am I? What do I want to do? And explore different ways. Try and communicate with people along the way, and find different things that people are doing around the country that would bring me joy, and start to incorporate some of those things in my life. I guess, I've always had a vision of moving to Barcelona for the time, so I might pop over there as well. But I'd build from scratch. I would build from scratch. I would. It's quite nice, isn't it? Really, it's like it gives you the opportunity to draw a line in the sand and go, right, actually,
yeah,
I'm gonna do all of these different things, and it would be living my best sustainable life. It would be living in balance, and helping other people to still live their aspirations and goals, but live in that balance and that harmony, it's available to them now. It really is.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So, as you say, it's available now, and that to a large extent is what you're doing in your role now, right? In terms of coaching people and helping people live more sustainably. You had mentioned also when we were preparing for this that you also, like I said, coach people, and I think there was an example you gave of a manufacturer who came to you. What was the background to that, and what was the outcomes that they achieved on working with you?
Yeah, so a wonderful entrepreneur. She creates these gift boxes for other small business owners as kind of thank you gifts to their clients. And she was having a conversation with one of her customers one day, and they asked her about the packaging.
Right.
And she realised that she didn't know, and she didn't know where it was sourced from, what the impact was. She hadn't given the environment any consideration into her business decisions. But that conversation she'd had sparked something in her. So she gave me a call and explained all of that. And we made a couple of switches. I pointed her in the direction of some options. These are some different things that you can consider, all with varying different costs attached to them. Some cheaper than her existing suppliers, some more high end. And she made her decision, and that was the start of her own journey. Now she sources products from the UK only. She made a decision to work with family businesses or small business owners or sustainable companies, sustainable businesses. So now she works with certified B Corps and people like that. So she wanted high quality. She didn't want it to travel too far to get to her, and then therefore travel to get to her clients. And it just keeps on growing. Every so often I'll get a message from her to say, "Oh, you never guess what I've done now. I've made this change to my product. I've made that change to my product." Her client base loves it.
Right.
She actually now markets that her products are made from this material. Boxes that she uses, she encourages her customers to reuse those boxes. She's got compostable materials in there and lots of great stuff. But it's really enhanced her business practice. It's made her more conscious about her day-to-day decisions and how she was sourcing her goods. And as these things do, it's crept into her personal life as well. So I think she started with beauty products in her personal life. I always say, look what's inside and look what's outside. And she was, what's the right word? She was very unhappy when she realised what she was putting on her skin.
Right.
And she's made the switch to more natural products, vegan products, cruelty-free products. And I've got no doubt that will just continue throughout the different categories of her day-to-day life as well.
Right. Okay. So making that one small change has had quite a knock-on effect to her life and the way in which she's doing things.
And these things do, whilst it's one change that I'm making, if you made a change off the back of this conversation, or if your audience members make a change and then somebody else that they know does, all these small changes build to such a profound change.
Yes.
They really, really do. That there are almost 70 million of us in the UK. There's 8 billion of us globally. Small change from everybody is a huge change.
That's true. That's very true. I was just thinking back to your comment about plastic bottles and the ocean, because we know plastic bottles often get chucked out and then they end up in the ocean and they're floating around. And if every one of us just didn't use a plastic bottle for one day, that would be 8 billion bottles out of circulation straight away. And you said that we use 8 billion bottles a day in the UK, right? Plastic bottles? A year, right.
I mean, it's just a ridiculous number to get.
Yeah,
right?
that is.
And let's not forget, every one of those bottles are made from fossil fuels. And that particular type of plastic takes around 450 years to decompose.
Yeah.
Or just getting that bottle of water for however long you drink it for. It's not really worth it when it's still going to be somewhere. It's going to be burned, or it's going to be somewhere on the planet. Not even just after you've gone, but your children's. It's
Yes.
less amount of time, and it builds every year. It builds. So yeah, the impact's huge. It really
Yeah,
absolutely huge.
yeah, it is, isn't it? Do you have a question for my next guest?
I do. I do. And it comes back to what I think that the heart of the series is, because I mean it's such a wonderful series, and it's full of hope, it's full of positivity and those real feel goods. So my question would be, if you had your magic wand,
Okay.
and you could choose to heal one aspect in the world, it could be anything at all that you could heal. Poverty, cleaning up the oceans, one small thing in your world that means so much to everybody within your world, or that one person. What would it be? Why would you do that?
Okay, that's a really good question, and I'm looking forward to hearing the answer from my next guest. And one thing that I'm quite conscious of is actually the oceans. I feel that we are, because the majority of us live on land. The ocean is somewhere far away. We don't see it every day, but actually, we're probably doing more damage to the oceans than we are to the land. And so, for me, that's the magic wand, would be to clean up the oceans and fix the ecosystem for the oceans again.
Oh, and I adore that answer. I really do. As you say, I mean, it's just unseen. And the ecosystem of the ocean contributes to so many other things as well, right?
That's right.
And I mean, we see species dying out. The amount of pollution in there, it blows your mind when you start to think about it. But again, one small thing. So I mentioned the ocean bottle.
Yeah.
Those guys stop 1,000 plastic bottles going in there. And there's lots and lots of amazing people all over the world actually cleaning up the ocean as well. They've got trawlers pulling out plastics that have been going in there for decades. So there's some amazing work happening, and just one small change from each of us will make that wish come true.
Well, as you said, it'll be a profound impact, right, on the world. So we're towards the top of our time now, Letty. It's been a great conversation. If people want to find out more, how could they get in touch with you, or what sort of your Instagram account, Facebook, wherever? How can they contact you?
Well, I work with people who have decided that they want to make a change, but no idea where to start, or would like a plan. So we build a personalised blueprint that will see them start their journey. And we have lots and lots of fun conversations during that time. And I share things such as my favourite product swaps that I've made so far. And we do this wonderful start of a journey. So that's primarily what I do.
Okay.
I've also got an Instagram page, as you mentioned before. So on that Instagram page, there are a lot of product swaps on there. And that's quite simply my name. So Letty Pickering on Instagram. I think it's .Pickering on Instagram. My name on LinkedIn. And then if anybody wants to reach out to me directly, either DM me on one of those channels, or it's info@lettypickering.com.
So yeah, thank you very much for the conversation, Letty. It's been fascinating, and I think the bit that really kind of like resonated with me initially was that image of the environmentalist. Because when we were preparing, and you said, if I say to you who's an environmentalist, what sort of image does that create in your mind? It was kind of the radical environmentalist in many ways that kind of came up in my mind. But what you've helped me understand through this conversation is that we can all be environmentalists, and we don't have to be that, living at one with nature all the time and stopping vehicles or whatever. But we can make that small change that can make a difference to the world and make a real change to our environment around us. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, you're very welcome, and I'm just really pleased that you've taken that away. Because what a lovely summary. It's for all of us, right? And whatever that means for you is going to be completely different to whatever it means to the next person and the next person. So, what's right is how you choose to do it and what you decide to do.
Yeah, brilliant. Great. Well, thank you. If you'd like to find out more about how you can find your success, contact me at info@successmatterscoaching.com. That's info@successmatterscoaching.com.